at all. Joining me right now, a self-described Philly sports fan who bleeds green. Sounds painful. Republican Congressman from Pennsylvania, Ryan Costello. Congressman, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
What do you think of what Doug Peterson just said?
I think he's on point. I mean, it is behind us. I think most Philly sports fans are more interested in how Carson Wentz is recovering than they are what happened yesterday. It was disappointing for a lot of us not having the White House ceremony. I had constituents down that still decided to attend, even though they didn't really know what they were attending since it wasn't any longer a Super Bowl celebration. So, you know, we move on from here. I take issue with the fact that we somehow turned it into a dispute over whether players should be allowed to kneel during the national anthem or not, because as you just rightly pointed out, the Eagles handled themselves throughout the year on a very touchy political subject with a great degree of professionalism, and so time to move on, I guess.
But well, you can say it's time to move on, but sources are telling CNN that the president's not going to move on. He's going to continue to, he sees this as a winning issue. I want to ask you about that, but on this point, the president made a big deal about who's playing politics here. He thinks the Eagles were playing politics. Who do you think's playing politics?
Well, I think, I don't know the circumstances surrounding when the Eagles agreed to come and when they decided that they were not coming, so I'll reserve judgment on that. I do think yesterday the president, just the way he went about doing it, was playing a little bit of playing politics with it, to be sure. As to your other point, I actually tend to agree that the president doubling down on kneeling during the national anthem being a sign of disrespect probably is good politics. I don't think that you should kneel during the national anthem. I understand it's an exercise of free speech, but I don't find it appropriate. I think the NFL policy that if you can't stand during the national anthem, wait in the locker room is the appropriate thing. Some people don't like me saying that, but that's just what I think.
The president won't even like you saying that. The president's even going after folks who wait in the locker room.
The president doesn't always like what I have to say.
That is a very fair point. Do you think, though, it might be smart politics? Do you think that's what Republicans should be running on, though, for the midterms?
No. We should be running on the fact that we have 3.8% unemployment. We have more job openings than we do folks looking for work. I think the tax cuts are working. I think that there are a tremendous number of economic indicators that point that our economy is moving in the right direction. You're starting to see wage growth increase. That's really the message.
Well, let's see if the president sticks with your advice on what the message should be. You are retiring, and one of the reasons that you've cited about your retirement is a general frustration about a frustration with the president, but also the fact that Republicans are asked questions ad nauseum at every turn about the president. And here's another reason why lawmakers face questions about the president at every turn. Because there's now a split between, it seems, Speaker Ryan and Donald Trump. Speaker Ryan's now siding with Trey Gowdy against the president and saying that so far they have seen no evidence that the FBI planted a spy in the Trump campaign. That, of course, has been a huge deal. Paul Ryan speaking out just this morning. Who do you side with on this?
I think Chairman Gowdy's representations that the FBI has comported themselves appropriately during that period of time is correct. I think that Trey speaks truth to power and calls balls and strikes fairly, which is why on another matter, when you look at Scott Pruitt and the EPA administrators' spending habits and candidly some mismanagement that's gone on there, I think Trey's handling that investigation in the Oversight Committee properly by not jumping to judgment, but also asking the very tough questions. So at some point in time, I think we have to have trust in those who are leading this investigations, or else the integrity of the investigation really falls apart. I think Trey's done a good job with that, and I agree with Trey's assessment on the situation.
Well, trust is a big thing, right? And truth is a big thing. I say that because I want you to listen to what we heard yesterday from White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders regarding the president's involvement in, well, the conflicting statements coming out of the White House. Did the president dictate a letter, a statement? Did he not dictate a statement about his son's meeting in Trump Tower during the campaign? Listen to what Sarah Sanders said yesterday to questioning.
So why can't you correct the record now?
Again, I'm not going to answer questions that deal specifically with conversations between the outside counsel and the special counsel.
Not to answer the question?
Again, I am not going to get into a back and forth with you on that, and I'd refer you to the outside counsel.
Was your statement accurate or inaccurate?
Again, I know you want to get me into a back and forth with you on this conversation.
Back and forth. You said something. We just want to know if it was accurate or not. Was
Look, I know your
statement
goal
accurate?
is to engage me in a conversation about matters dealing with the outside counsel, and I'm not going to do that today.
Look, I hold you accountable for statements you've said, and if you've changed your statement later on, do you think that Sarah Sanders should have to explain herself for a statement she made from the podium?
Well, the trick, here's the rub there, is if the representation to Sarah Sanders was that he didn't dictate the statement, then she used the information that she had at the time and made a representation that she felt to be accurate. At a later point in time, if she was told something different and she now has a new representation, that's not her fault. You can, and obviously reporters are going to say, well, when did it change? Who told you? When did you know? At a certain point in time, she does have some loyalty, rightly so, to the president. That's who she speaks on behalf of. And so she may not want to disclose what she was told when she was told, particularly during the course of an ongoing investigation. So look, that was some entertaining television, but I would not point the finger at Sarah Sanders there and say that she's done anything improper. I think that it is a very difficult job being a press secretary under any circumstances, especially so right now under these circumstances. So I tread lightly there in critiquing her negatively.
Do you trust what comes out of the White House, though? I mean, do you think folks should take what Sarah Sanders says as true?
I do, but I also think you should verify everything with a multitude of sources.
Well, you're going to be one of those sources.
I also tend to think she does a pretty able job of not answering questions that she does not have the information on or does not want to make a representation at that time. I was actually listening the other day, and she's pretty quick with her answers and moves right on to the next reporter.
And that she has an ability to control. But if one makes a statement publicly, then maybe there is a...
Yeah.
There does seem to be a need to actually just explain yourself. When did things change? I don't think folks would fault anyone to say they had faulty information at the time.
Yeah, I don't think you're correct. I do believe that there's going to have to be a follow-up from her. Perhaps she didn't want to make it at the time, but I don't dispute what you're saying about, if it changed, when did it change, why did it change? And look, this is an active investigation. I think more important than anything is that the investigators get answers to those questions, even though we may, as the public, not get that as quickly as we might like.
Also a good point. Congressman, thanks for coming.